This situation keeps getting crazier as ahead of what's going to be a very fun game two of the regular season tonight against the Red Wings. The Easton Cowan situation keeps on getting more interesting as we have multiple huge Leafs updates to go over today ahead of the game tonight. And one thing in particular, you're going to want to stay tuned for because it is quite an interesting update. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. A quick reminder, we will be live following tonight's game, both Darius and myself. And if you're a part of that 71% who aren't subscribed, it's the place to be for daily Leafs content, videos every day, live streams after every game. Darius, I'm excited for the game tonight, excited for the stream tonight. But what I'm not excited about is one of the updates we have today. Now, we know the situation surrounding Easton Cowan, it's been well documented. We have a new update surrounding that. But the more that people talk about it here, the more that it becomes, I guess, more people are starting to realize what's happening with this player. But first, let's dive into a quick update, a PSA here before we dive into the juicy news. Before, for the game on Monday, for those interested, it was originally scheduled 4 p.m. Eastern. It is now 2 p.m. Eastern. So Thanksgiving Day is going to have a 2 p.m. Eastern game to obviously, lean into the Jays' playoff excitement. They have a game against the Mariners at, around 4 p.m. I think it might be 5 p.m. around that time. Now, speaking of this, Darius, we have a back-to-back here, not days, but teams. You play the Red Wings tonight. You play the Monday. And guess who's missing the game tonight against the Red Wings? That is Easton Cowan, as he has been officially ruled, not officially, I guess he's your projected scratch tonight as he was out skating late doing extra work. Sammy Blais as well is out. So Darius, what are your thoughts on this? We had a video on it yesterday. There was some late optimism from guys like, Craig Berube saying those are decisions we had to discuss and make. We'll see what happens tomorrow. That is today now. And despite all that, we'll have some comments as well from the GM here in a minute, Brad Living. He is going to miss another game, and fans are starting to get, I guess, restless is the best word we can use here, and I'm right there with them.
Yeah, a lot of fans are, right? And I get it from Craig Berube. You won the other night. You're going with the same lineup. That makes a lot of sense. But now a lot of people are wondering, what is the game plan here with Easton Cowan? There's a couple things to discuss here with Cowan, right? When the season first started, he clearly makes the team. He's on the roster. He's not playing in the first game. I think we all understood that that makes sense, so he could practice with the team, be up with the big club, get that experience before the Marlies start their season. That made sense. Well, at this point now, and I saw a lot of comments and a lot of people are talking online, well, the Marlies season hasn't started yet. Wrong. They played yesterday. Their season has started. He can go down and play games with them. This guy should be getting into games. That's how I feel about it. I've said it the last couple of weeks. If he's going to be tagging along, once the season starts for the Marlies, he should then be sent down and get into games with the Marlies. Borja Vallis also looks very good with the Marlies so far. A lot of interesting performances there. But he should be sent back down, getting his touches, playing top 6 minutes, controlling the puck, all of these things. So then in the future, he can be that player for the Toronto Maple Leafs to continue his development. And I'm sure, there's going to be injuries throughout the course of a season. Look around the league. It's already happening to a lot of teams. So I'm sure at some point we would see him back. But yes, he's been ruled out again. I get it to a degree. But on the other side of things, Nick, if you look at the schedule, if you look at the Leafs schedule for this month, what do we have coming up here on just Tuesday? We have a back-to-back. The Leafs, like you mentioned, they play at 2 o'clock now against the Red Wings. They play the Red Wings in Detroit today, and they just got smacked around by the Habs the other night. So this is going to be an interesting matchup, That's for sure. But they have a back-to-back coming up. Nashville is in town on Tuesday. So could Easton Cowan then make his, NHL debut? Is this what they're kind of waiting for to get him into at least one game before they send him back? This could be the plan at this point. So very interesting stuff. I get Craig Berube, and coaches, especially him, creatures of habit, right? They want to keep the lineup together. That one, I understand these things, but you have to look at the long-term goals, and that is to get Easton Cowan to be an everyday, impact player at the NHL level. So we'll see what ends up happening. He's clearly not playing today. We'll see what happens Monday as well. I think it really depends on the result tonight, but I think one way or another, we might actually see him either Monday or Tuesday, probably Tuesday at home against Nashville.
And you can look, again, for those unfamiliar, they're on the road today, and then they play, what is that, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 5 straight games at home. You're basically at home the rest of the month, aside from a couple games here. But again, 2 p.m. start. Yeah, I mean, for Easton Cowan, people are starting to get slightly restless. You can see this here, and this has been a sentiment that we've seen, at least I've seen a lot here recently. Once again, have him playing somewhere, whether that be with the Marlies, whether that be with the Leafs. The conversation isn't necessarily about him not playing because, whatever it is. The Leafs won their first game. Berube loves to run the same lineup. If they win, makes sense. No one played inherently bad out of those, guys, right? Out of those 12 players. So it makes some sense there. But now it's another game where he could have been playing. He's resting. But the question now becomes, like you mentioned, if he's going to be bouncing in and out, and you assume he's going to get in between the 13th to 14th, one of those 2 games, What happens after that? And that's going to be the continued question. If he has a game that isn't fantastic, are they just going to send him down? Are they going to throw him back into the healthy scratch pool and get Nick Robertson in? That's where the questions become very interesting. And Easton Cowan himself says that he has a group of 20 or 30 people on standby to attend his NHL debut whenever it comes. Just being patient is exactly what he said there. So it is quite the weird situation. Now, looking ahead of tonight's lines, these are the projected lines from yesterday. Darius, what are your thoughts on these? Again, exact same as last game.
Yep.
Anything you're looking out for after seeing last game? I'm looking out for Morgan Riley again to see how he performs. And Michelli, he was moved out of that top line pretty early in the game there a couple days ago, and things were juggled around on that front. We saw Domi, I believe, at the top line for a bit. They're going with Michelli again in that on that top line with Matthews and Nyes. The first line wasn't disappointing, but they weren't the best line out of the guys who played. So I'm looking forward for, to them stepping up as well. And we're also going to see Anthony Stolarz in net as he is the projected goalie, which let's also keep in mind here, kind of mentioned it. Caden Primo's going to get one of those 2 starts there early next week.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to get our first look at Caden Primo, which is very exciting. And for tonight, I mean, in terms of expected goals against the Montreal Canadiens, Simone Benoit, best player. So I want to see, what he does again tonight. Obviously, Morgan Riley, keeping an eye on that. Nick Robertson, what does he do? He seems to score against Detroit. He likes Detroit, especially playing in Detroit. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. We'll see what happens there. The one thing I want to talk about with the lineup, I mean, it's the same lineup, right? As we saw the other night, nobody looked really bad. If you look across the league, there's so much pressure on other teams to get going here because of the results from last season. Of course, there's pressure on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I feel like there's this sense, and I don't know if it's because of the Blue Jays, everything's kind of calm right now. It's just business, right? Like everyone's just showing up. It's business. We expect them to win. They had a good performance the other night. They're hanging around in games. Like it kind of just feels like a different team to a degree. And again, it could be the Blue Jays, right? Toronto has Blue Jays fever right now, and not too many people are paying attention to the specifics of the Leafs at this moment. But everything just feels relaxed, calm, business-like. They're coming into the game. It's a business venture. We're going to win this game. That's the expectation, right? I'm liking this vibe from the team. And the fact that, most of the players we do know from last year, and we know the job that they're going to be able to do, and that we're getting consistency out of a lot more players. I think it's really, really good. We're still looking for consistency out of guys like Nick Robertson, Bobby McMahon, right? But, if they continue to work on those things, and that's what Berube's been talking about this season, they're really going to hammer those things home. So by the time we get to the playoffs, they're habits, right? So if that does end up happening, I think they're, going to find some success. So I just like the attitude around the team right now, and just the vibe of the team. It's just very businesslike. Everything seems relaxed. They came into morning skate. There's no drama, right? What obviously is happening with Easton Cowan, that's an interesting story. But outside of that, we're going to go into the game. We're probably going to win. And I just like that attitude from the team.
Hopefully we'll win. And ultimately, they got destroyed. The Red Wings, that is, by the Habs there yesterday, or whenever the game was. So it's going to be quite the fun one. The Leafs played really well against the Habs. The Habs are a pretty good team. Now you've played the team that the Habs just played. It's funny how things work there. And for those curious about the projected lines or some sort of lines here for the Red Wings, let us know down below what you're keeping an eye out on. But folks, that'll wrap it up. Obviously, the Blue Jays are happening. Super exciting. The Leafs are back. Sports are back. And Toronto is buzzing. And hopefully they can take care of business. And this would be a very big win tonight to start the season 2-0. We'll keep you up to date. We'll see you guys later for the live stream.